The hallway is dimly lit as Wine approaches Lily's room. She stops in her tracks when she hears her twin sister's voice. Jungkook, I can't do this. Do what? Lily? Marry me? We have been engaged for months. You knew this day was coming. That's exactly the problem. I don't want to settle down yet. I still have things I want to do, places I want to go. I don't want to be tied to someone boring married life. Boring? You think being with me is boring? That's not what I mean. I love you, Lily. I thought you loved me too. I do, but love isn't everything, Jungkook. The call disconnects. Wine quickly steps back as Lily turns around. Their eyes meeting. Lily's face drains of color. You are eavesdropping? Lily, what are you doing? You're supposed to marry him if you don't. I can't. I can't marry him, Wine. I don't want to be trapped in a loveless marriage with someone like him. But Lily, what will father do if he finds out? You know how he is. Lily grabs Wine's hands, her grip tight and desperate. You have to help me, please. You are the only one who can. What do you mean? You have to take my place. A heavy silence fills the room. What? Lily? No, I can't. Yes, you can. We are twins. Why? No one will know. Just pretend to be me until I figure something out. I will leave. I will run away. This is crazy. What if he finds out? What if father finds out? Do you have any idea what will happen? Please, Wine, you are the only one who can save me. I can't do this. I will die if I marry him. Wine stares at her sister, torn between fear and duty. She has always protected Lily, always put her first. But this, marrying a man like Jungkook, stepping into a life that wasn't meant for her. No, I won't. The house is eerily silent. One stands in front of the mirror, dressed in an elegant white wedding gown. Her heart pounds violently in her chest. She still can't believe this is happening. Lily, where are you? A soft knock on the door startles her. Their father's voice booms from the other side. Lily, it's time. The guests are waiting. Wine swallows hard, her hand trembling. There is no turning back now. Lily is gone. She ran away with Chongsu, leaving Wine to take her place. I'm coming. She takes a deep breath and steps out of the room. Her head bowed, she can feel the weight of expectations pressing down on her. The ceremony passes in a blur. Wine barely registers the vows, her voice shaking as she repeats them. The moment Jungkook slides the ring onto her finger, she feels trapped, bound to a man who has no idea who she really is. The wedding night is tense. One stands near the bed, her fingers clutching the hem of her dress as Jungkook watches her from across the room. His sharp eyes seem to dissect every move she makes. The silence is suffocating. You have been quiet all day. Wine flings at his voice. She tries to compose herself, but her palms are damp with sweat. I was just nervous. Jungkook tilts his head slightly, stepping closer. His presence is overwhelming, his gaze unwavering as he studies her. Nervous? That's strange. You didn't seem nervous before. Wine's heart pounds. Did Lily act differently around him? She forces herself to smile, though it barely reads her eyes. Well, it's just everything happened so fast. The wedding, the people, it was a lot. Jungkook narrows his eyes, his fingers slowly loosen the buttons on his cuffs. But the focus remains on her. That's interesting. You have never been shy around me before. A lump forms in Wine's throat. He notices she is not acting the way Lily would. She quickly lowers her gaze, pretending to fix the bracelet on her wrist. It's just been a long day. I'm tired. Maybe that's why. Jungkook takes another step closer, his presence intimidating. Wine tries not to shrink under his gaze, but her body betrays her. Her shoulders tense, her breathing uneven. Look at me. Wine hesitates but slowly lifts her eyes to meet his. His expression is unreadable, but something about the way he's staring at her makes her stomach twist. Your voice, your expressions, they feel off. Wine's breath hitches. He knows maybe not the full truth, but the senses something is wrong. What do you mean? You seem different, not like yourself. Wine forces a small chuckle, hoping to mask her fear. It's just your imagination. I'm the same as always. Jungkook watches her closely, his lips pressing into a thin line. A tense silence lingers between them before he finally exhales, shaking his head. Maybe I'm overthinking. Wine lets out a shaky breath, barely holding herself together. He is suspicious, but for now he's letting it go. But for how long? A week has passed since their wedding. Jungkook has noticed small differences. Her handwriting, the way she speaks, her reactions, but he never confronted her, but he had sensed it. The changes were too many, too strange. The woman he married wasn't the same. Her habits, her expressions, everything was different. So he did what any man in his position would do. He ordered his secretary to dig into Lily's background. Jungkook sits in his chair, his fingers tapping impatiently against his desk. His secretary Minho stands in front of him, flipping through a file filled with details about his wife. No, about Lily. Minho reads aloud, but Jungkook barely listens, lost in his thoughts. Kim Lily graduated top of her class, worked at a design firm for 2 years, engaged to CEO Jun Jungkook. Everything seems in place. Then Minho suddenly stops. His eyes scan the paper. Again, his brows furrowing in surprise. Wait a minute. What? She had a twin sister. The pen in Jungkook's hand drops onto the desk with a soft touch. His body tenses, his heart beat loud in his ear. What did you just say? Lily had a twin sister. Her name is Wine. Silence, a deafening silence. Jungkook stares blankly at the papers in front of him, but the words blur together. A twin sister, a completely identical twin. Then the woman he married, the one sleeping beside him every night, it wasn't Lily, it was Wine. A sudden rage builds in his chest. His grip tightens on the desk as his jaw clenches. How could she? How could they do this to him? His own wife was a stranger. His fiancé had abandoned him and her sister had taken her place. I was fooled. Minho notices the shift in Jungkook's expression, his usual cold demeanor now laced with anger and betrayal. Sir, do you want me to leave? Minho bows and exits, leaving Jungkook alone with the weight of the truth. He grips his temples, his breathing uneven. The realization is too much. The fury, the betrayal, it consumes him. Jungkook returns home much later than usual, his body exhausted, his mind spinning. He doesn't speak to Wine, he doesn't even look at her. The moment he steps inside, he walks past her without a word and heads straight to their room. Wine watches him, confusion and worry filling her chest. He looked different, colder, angrier. Did he find out? Was that why he was acting like this? She swallows the lump in her throat, feeling her heart pound anxiously. Dinner passes in complete silence. Jungkook doesn't come out to eat. He never skips meals, but tonight he does. While unable to shake the bad feeling, finally gathers the courage to check on him. She slowly opens the bedroom door, her eyes widening at the sight before her. Jungkook is laying on the bed in a terrible posture. His shirt slightly open, his face turned away, his breaths are heavy and uneven. Jungkook, she steps closer, her hands trembling as she reaches out, touching his forehead. The moment her fingers graze his skin, she gasps. He is burning up. Jungkook, you have a fever. But before she can do anything, he roughly yanks her hand away. His grip strong despite his weakened state. His red, tired eyes bore into hers. Don't come near me. Wine's heart clenched at the bitterness in his voice. His face is pale, but his eyes burn with unshed anger. He knows everything. You're not my lady. Tears sting Wine's eyes. She wants to explain, wants to tell him everything, but he won't let her. Not yet. Please let me treat you first. You are sick, Jungkook. No, just go, just leave me. His voice breaks at the end, and for the first time, Wine sees something she never thought she would see tears. His red eyes glisten, his jaw clenched so tightly as if he is trying to hold everything in. Wine swallows hard, wiping her own tears before rushing out, but she doesn't leave. She returns with a bowl of cold water and a towel. Her hands shaking as she sits beside him. He doesn't fight her this time. He's too weak. Gently, Wine dips the towel in the cold water and presses it against his burning forehead. His body flinches slightly, but he doesn't say anything. Please let me take care of you. I promise I will tell you everything. Jungkook stays silent. His eyes flicker to her face, watching as she carefully wipes his sweat. Her own tears falling onto the bed, a part of him wants to push her away, to yell at her, to make her feel the betrayal he felt. But another part just wants to close his eyes and let her care for him. Minutes pass and Wine wipes away the single tear that escapes his eye. Then, in a moment of pure desperation, she leans down and presses a soft kiss against his burning forehead. Jungkook clenches his fists. His heart is breaking, and he doesn't know why. She was the liar, the one who tricked him, and yet her touch is gentle. Her voice trembles with honesty. He doesn't understand himself anymore. After she finishes treating him, Wine starts to get up, but before she can leave, Jungkook's hand weakly grips her wrist. Please just tell me. Wine's heart clenches. There is no escape now. He knows. He just wants to hear it from her. With a deep breath, she kneels beside him, gathering the courage to finally say the truth. I didn't have any other option, Jungkook. His brows furrow at her words, his grip on her wrist tightened slightly, his body stiffening as he waits for her explanation. What do you mean? Wine closes her eyes for a moment, the painful memories flooding her mind, the day everything changed forever. The Kim mansion was supposed to be filled with wedding preparations, but instead it was filled with chaos. Wine stood frozen in the living room, her father's furious voice echoing in her ears. Lily ran away. Wine flinched at his outburst, her hands clenched into fists as she looked down, too scared to meet his burning gaze. Her sister, her twin, was gone. She left a note. She said she couldn't do it. She loves someone else. Her father's eyes blazed with fury as he grabbed the nearest glass and threw it against the wall, the sharp sound making Wine jump. That's selfish. Do you know what she's done? Do you have any idea how this will ruin our family? Wine bit her lip, her heart pounding. Of course, she knew. Their father had built his entire business reputation on this marriage alliance. And now that Lily was gone, everything would collapse. There is only one way to fix this. His sharp eyes locked onto Wine, and for the first time, she felt true fear. What do you mean? He stepped closer, gripping her wrist tightly, his fingers digging into her skin. You will marry Jungkook. Wine's eyes widened in pure shock, her body going rigid. What? No, I can't. You will. His voice was final, no room for argument, no room for escape. But father, he thinks he's marrying Lily. How can I? Do you think he cares? This is business. This is about power. You look exactly like her. No one will know you will marry him and you will stay silent. If you refuse, then forget you ever had a family. Wine's breath hissed, her hands trembled. She looked around the house she grew up in, the place that never truly felt like home. And yet, it was all she had. If she refused, her father would throw her out like she never existed. Tears welled in her eyes. She had no choice, no way out. So that night, she was forced into Lily's wedding dress, forced to take Lily's place, and forced to become Jungkook's wife. Wine opens her eyes, tears slipping down her cheeks as she finally tells Jungkook everything. He listens in silence, his grip never loosening. His face remains unreadable, but his eyes show a storm of emotions, anger, betrayal, pain. What? Wine's heart aches at the way his voice breaks. His hands clench into fists on the shears, his jaw tightening as he processes the words his Lily, his love, loved someone else. No, that's not possible. She loved me. She told me she wanted to be with me. Wine lowers her gaze, unable to meet his broken stare. I don't know why she said that, Jungkook, but she didn't love you. She ran away with Jongsu. So she didn't just run away from the marriage, she ran away from me. His voice cracked slightly at the end, and Wine's heart clenched. She knew it would hurt him, but seeing him like this, so broken, so betrayed, made her chest ache. That's why my father forced me to marry you. Jungkook lets out a bitter laugh, shaking his head in disbelief. He leans back against the headboard, closing his eyes as he processes the truth. Everything he believed, everything he thought he had with Lily was a lie. And the women he had spent the past month with, the women he had unknowingly started seeing differently, wasn't even Lily at all. Wine watches him, unsure of what to do. She wants to comfort him, but she knows she has no right to. Not after everything. I never wanted to lie to you, but I had no choice. Did you ever plan to tell me? Wine swallows hard, looking down at her trembling hands. I wanted to, but I was scared. Scared of how you would react. Scared that you would hate me. Chubuk lets out a bitter laugh, but there is no humor in it, just pain. He leans back against the pillows, running a shaky hand through his hair. So, the woman I have been calling my wife was never supposed to be my wife. Wine's throat tightens hearing it from him. It hurts. But I tried, Jungkook. I tried to be a good wife. I know I'm not Lily, but you could never be Lily. His words stab into her heart like a knife. She looks away, blinking back tears, while Chuko clenches his fists. His anger is justified. His pain is valid, but for some reason, he can't bring himself to hate her, even now, even after everything. Silence stretches between them, thick with tension. Then suddenly, Jungkook speaks, his voice lower, more vulnerable. If Lily never ran away, you would have never been in my life, right? Wine stays silent because she knows the answer is yes, and that truth hurts more than anything. Jungkook lets out a deep breath, closing his eyes. He's exhausted. Physically, emotionally, he doesn't want to think anymore. Wine watches him, her chest aching. She knows she should leave him alone. But before she can stand up, his fingers weakly grasp her wrist again. Just stay. Her breath catches. He doesn't say anything else. He doesn't even look at her, but his grip doesn't loosen. And for the first time since their marriage, one realizes something. Despite the lies, despite the betrayal, Jungkook doesn't want to be alone. A week had passed since their conversation. Jungkook tried to ignore Wine, keeping his distance, but she remained the same, soft, gentle, and endlessly caring. No matter how much he avoided her, she still made sure his coffee was warm, his clothes were ready, and his fever never returned. It frustrated him. He wanted to be mad, to push her away, but she made it impossible. That afternoon, Jungkook came home early. He had an important meeting later, so he decided to freshen up before heading back. Wine, as usual, insisted he eat something before leaving. Reluctantly, he sat at the dining table, quietly eating as she placed a warm bowl of soup in front of him. Just as they were about to continue, the doorbell rang. I will get it. Jungkook barely looked up as Wine walked to the door, but the moment it opened, her entire body froze. Hello, Sissy. How did it feel taking my place? Wine's breath hissed. She couldn't believe it. Lily stood in front of her, looking just as confident as ever. Dressed stylishly, her hair perfect, as if she had not abandoned everything a month ago. Wine struggled to find words, but Lily didn't give her the chance. Move. Before Wine could react, Lily shoved her aside and confidently walked in. Wine stumbled but quickly regained her balance. Heart pounding, she turned to see Lily walking straight toward the dining table, toward Chongo. Aw, my love. Jungkook, who had just stood up, watched in shock as Lily threw her arms around him. For a split second, everything felt unreal. Then his body reacted before his mind could get away. He shoved her back, his expression darkening. Lily staggered slightly, but quickly recovered, putting on an innocent face. She clutched her chest dramatically as if she had just been deeply hurt. Jungkook, why are you acting like this? Wine watched, heart sinking. She knew how much Jungkook had loved Lily. Maybe, just maybe he still did. Would he believe her lies? Would he send Wine away now that Lily was back? Her hands clenched at her sides as her throat tightened. Why are you here? I had no choice. This was all Wine's plan. She forced me to leave. What? Lily turned to Wine, her expression suddenly turning cold and accusing. Shut up! Wine's eyes widened, a lump forming in her throat. She looked at Jungkook, desperate for him to see the truth. No, please don't lie. Jungkook's gaze flickered between them. His heart pounded in his chest, but not for the reasons Lily expected. A month ago, if this had happened, he would have believed Lily without a second thought. But now all he could see was the pain in Wine's eyes. The same girl who had cared for him, stayed by his side, and never once asked for anything in return. Wine swallowed hard, lowering her gaze. Maybe this was the end. Maybe Jungkook would choose Lily after all. Without another word, she turned around, her feet moving on their own, ready to leave before she could hear the words that would break her completely. But before she could take a step, she felt it, a firm, warm grip on her wrist, holding her back, holding her close. Her breath hitched slowly. She turned her head, only to see Jungkook staring at her, not Lily. Where do you think you are going? Wine's lips parted slightly. Her heartbeat pounded in her ears. He wasn't letting her go. Jungkook, what are you doing? She's the one who tricked you. I am your fiancé. You love me. Jungkook's grip on Wine's wrist tightened slightly. He exhaled sharply before turning his cold gaze to Lily. I loved you. Lily froze. But I don't anymore. Lily's lips trembled. She shook her head in disbelief, taking a step forward. No, no, you do. You have to. I was your first love, Jungkook. She's nothing compared to what we had. Jungkook remained silent for a moment, then slowly, another words about my wife and your head would be on her feet. He looked at Wine, his eyes softened just slightly, barely noticeable, but Wine saw it, felt it. You're wrong. Lily's breath hitched. Wine's heart skipped a beat. Jungkook turned back to Lily, his expression now completely unreadable. Leave. Lily clenched her fists, her breath hitching, but she wasn't one to give up so easily. Blinking rapidly, she put on her best innocent expression and took a hesitant step forward. Jungkook, don't do this. I know you are upset, but please listen to me. Jungkook didn't respond, his gaze unwavering, his grip still firm on Wine's wrist. Lily's eyes darted to their linked hands and something inside her snapped, but she quickly masked her anger, biting her lip as if she were about to cry. This is all her fault. She forced me to leave. She took my place. You have to believe me. Wine's eyes widened in disbelief. She had expected Lily to lie, but this was beyond anything she had imagined. She opened her mouth to protest, but Jungkook beat her to it. Really? Lily swallowed hard at the way he sat, like he was amused by her pathetic attempt. So you're saying wine forced you, that she somehow controlled you, made you run away in the middle of the night? Yes, she threatened me. Threatened you? His voice was laced with sarcasm, and Wine felt her heart hammering in her chest. Jungkook, he knew the truth. He already knew. Yes, she wanted you for herself. She always envied me. She was jealous of what we had. That's why she. Enough. Lily's breath hitched. Jungkook took a slow step forward, towering over her, his cold eyes piercing through her fake tears. Poor you were forced to run away, huh? So tell me, Lily. His expression darkened. If you were so unwilling, why did you run away with another man? Lily's body stiffened. Wine gasped softly. He really knew. He wasn't just a suspicious, he had proof. You lied to me. His voice was so cold that the entire room felt like it had dropped in temperature. One felt the grip on her wrist tighten slightly, not in pain, but as if Jungkook was grounding himself, holding back his anger. You made me believe you loved me. You played with my feelings, and now, after a whole month, you come back here and expect me to take you back. Lily was trembling now, but she still had one more card to play. But don't you love me? Jungkook didn't flinch. His face remained blank, but his next words shattered whatever hope Lily had left. I did. Lily's lips parted, a sharp pain stabbed through her chest. But Jungkook wasn't done. But that was before I realized what love actually looks like. Wine's breath hitched, her eyes met Jungkook's for a split second, but the intensity in them made her look away. No, no, she tricked you. You tricked me. You made me believe you wanted to marry me, only to throw me away like I mean nothing. Lily bit her lip hard, her hands shaking. And now you want me back after everything. I made a mistake. Yeah, you did. Lily's legs felt weak. She never expected this, never expected him to reject her. Get out. Lily looked at Wine one last time, as if blaming her for everything. But Wine didn't flinch. She simply stood there waiting, and this time Lily knew she had lost. With a final glare, Lily turned on her heels and stormed out, slamming the door behind her. Silence filled the room. Wine's heart pounded in her chest. She expected Jungkook to let go of her wrist now that Lily was gone, but he didn't. Instead, his grip loosened slightly. His thumb brushing against her skin absent-mindedly, he let out a deep breath before speaking again. I should have known sooner. Wine looked up at him, hesitant. You did now. That's what matters. Jungkook's gaze flickered to her. He didn't respond, but for the first time, something in his eyes softened. The room was silent after Lily's departure. The tension lingered in the air, but there was something else, something softer, something unspoken. You were always with me in my worst moments. Wine's heart skipped a beat. She looked up at him, her eyes searching his for any sign of hesitation, but there was none, only raw emotion. I thought I loved her. I really did, but now, after everything, I realize I was wrong. Wine stayed silent, afraid that if she spoke, the moment would shatter. Love isn't just saying I love you. It's not about pretty words or promises that don't mean anything. It's about being there, even when the other person doesn't deserve it, even when they push you away. His fingers brushed against Wine's cheek, tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear. Her breath hissed, her cheeks turning warm under his touch. It's about taking care, about putting someone else before yourself. His gaze bore into hers, intense and unwavering. And you showed me what love really is. I saw it in your eyes, in everything you did for me, even when I didn't deserve it. Wine swallowed, her heart racing. His words, they meant something. They were not just words, they were his truth. Jungkook, he didn't let her finish. Instead, he leaned in, pressing a lingering kiss on her forehead. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't forced, it was slow, filled with unspoken emotions, a silent confession of everything he felt but couldn't put into words. Wine closed her eyes, feeling the warmth of his lips against her skin, her heart melting at the tenderness in his touch. When he pulled away, he rested his forehead against hers, his breath mingling with hers. Thank you for being with me, for choosing me. She felt tears pricked her eyes. She never wanted anything in return for loving him. But now, hearing those words from him, feeling the warmth of his touch, she realized this was all she ever wanted.